Radio in motion program loading in 3, 2, 1. Program activated.
Attention everyone, the unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Okay, first things first, what is your name?
This is Big Sonny playing the best of the 90s and beyond.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Radio in motion.
Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
All right, here we go.
Radio in motion.
All right. Thanks for joining me tonight. We've got our 70s Sundown episode of Radio in Motion. Going back and just feeling a bit of a chill vibe, and seems to be synonymous with the weather, which is a bit sullen at the moment and raining. But that's all right. I like that vibe. Sometimes you have to have those days where you look out the window and just reminisce and chill. But right now we're going to have another episode of The Ugly Truth. And the ugly truth is we've all just become consumers now. And in the context of what I'm going to talk about here is, well, especially when it comes to the way, you know, your politicians and government used to talk about us. They used to at least say citizens, whether you're an upstanding citizen of Melbourne or Australia or United States or any of the 50 states in America. It was about being part of a collective, and you know, it was okay to be proud of that, no matter what country you came from. Before people go on a rant, yes, this includes anybody who was not originally born in that country. I'm not from Australia. I love this country. I love America too. I'm a bit half and half. But anyone who has come over here as an immigrant, as I said, immigrants built America. So when I say citizen, now I'm not going on about someone who was born there, and I'm not going to get into the debate of native lands and native people. If you are living in the country you're in, and you all collectively want the same simple things, which is a good life and family, you're a citizen. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean when I say that, for all the cancel culture people. But frankly, you're not even that anymore. Now you're just called the consumers. And what sparked this is watching something that came out recently. This was Kevin Hassett, the National Economic Council advisor. I literally could care less who he is. But when someone comes on the world stage, especially now, when the U.S. is at war, and when the U.S. is at war, believe me, they're taking Australia with it, because everything that happens on the worldwide stage affects every country, and it affects Australia, whether you're, taking part in the front lines or not. And it was a concern what he said, essentially talking about the war and how it is affecting everyone. But he said consumer pain over the Iran war is the last of our concerns right now. And that is really disturbing for someone to say, oh, essentially everyone who lives in America, or like I said, Australia, or the world, the entire Western world, who was affected by this personally, from the simple things as putting gas in their car to get to their job, to provide for their family, to pay their mortgage, to put a roof over the house, to keep their family and children warm. Yeah, those kind of simple things. The people. But we're just consumers. And I guess I stopped and started to wonder, what does that mean? When did we go from being the people, a government by the people, for the people? That's a real phrase. That's a real thing. The people in power and in politicians and government are supposed to work for us, not the other way around. We are the voice that collectively says, as a country, as a whole, as a neighborhood, and instead of your local neighborhood, your city, your town, the big neighborhood, your state, well, the whole country is one big neighborhood. And you're all collectively, hopefully, able to affect that with a voice, or so I thought. And you were a citizen with a voice. But no, you're just a consumer now. And frankly, you know, we are the commodity. Yes, we are the consumer. We buy all the crap. Some of it's needed, some of it's not. And when I get into more about consumer, I don't mean, again, if you have a home, or you've worked hard to invest in land, or you are buying food for your family. And I'm not talking about those sort of required amenities that you need to survive. But we are certainly the consumer when it comes to making sure we have the latest thing to look like we are successful. And yes, you'd think that, well, they like that. They thrive off that because we are the commodity. But no, now they've gotten to the point where not only we just called the consumer, they seem to not care. And I've talked about this in another video, and I'll probably talk about it more. But before I get into how did we go from citizen to consumer, I will say once again, I am disgusted with the military, consuming machine. It's the military-industrial complex, and I'm sorry. However, anyone feels they know what's going on when it comes to modern war, this isn't a war about fighting tyranny. This isn't a war. This isn't World War II. Everyone has these romantic ideas that this is something where we're fighting the evil. There's the good and the evil. This is a couple of megalomaniacs, and yes, this does include Netanyahu and Trump, and essentially everyone surrounding them, because no, it's not just them, but they don't help. But it's everyone surrounding them that has a piece of the pie, and they want to make sure they keep getting theirs. And, it's like George Carlin said in a lot of his stand-ups. It's a club, and you ain't in it, and that's a fact. And if you're listening, well, good on you. But let me tell you, if you think I'm talking about someone like Elon Musk, oh yeah, those sort of billionaires. No, I'm talking about the kind of billionaires that you've rarely heard of. Whether it's the Klaus Schwab or the George, whether it's like the World Economic Forum, it's the kind of people that pull the strings and you haven't even heard of them. It's those kind of people. And sadly, this war is for them. And first of all, yeah, I'm disgusted with the entire idea that, the U.S. has gone to war just because someone said so. But again, I won't get too deep into that. But I do want to talk about, how we got from citizen to consumer. And the language itself is just disturbing. If the biggest concern is whether people keep spending, not whether they're thriving, then the role of a person has shifted from being a participant in democracy to just, like I say, a commodity that fuels the economy. That's all you are. And that's sad. A citizen, when I think of that, has rights and a voice and participates, like I say, in your local community and your wider community. A consumer is just, spending, demand, and economic output. And, it used to be, and look, I'll go back like pre-1970s or even in the 70s. You were part of your community, There were strong local ties. Workplaces were tied to the community, there were factories and trades, and you knew a lot of the people who necessarily, again, people were friends, and I'm not saying they weren't real friends. But a lot of that friendship just came from the fact that you all went to the same place to work. You all knew each other. You knew that person. They were in your neighborhood, or you knew where they were. You knew their family. And that was important, those ties. Shared institutions, churches, schools, civic groups, things that I feel like people would do in their community in town that nobody does anymore. But then, I think maybe it did start sort of in the 80s. Work became fragmented and remote. Obviously, it leaped forward extremely, probably during the COVID years for sure. The idea of everyone still being able to function via a Zoom meeting and via remote. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying it doesn't have its value. But I tell you, it also it's a double-edged sword. The remote has just isolated us. But yeah, it went from someone who was involved in the community to just being very corporate. And now communities, not only they're geographically and socially disconnected. The identity is less about where you belong, just more about what you consume. And you used to know your role in the community, and something happened at the local school, fence fell down, or someone needed to fix something, or they needed a new coach. It would always be someone in the community would say, "Oh, well, Bob can do that. He'll drop over and fix that up." And all of that's gone. I feel like all that sense of community is gone. So yeah, of course we started to evolve into just being the consumer. And look, I always touch on technology, because as much as I think we live in an astounding time of technology, it has brought us together and then moved us apart just as quickly. It really has. The phone in your hand, and before that, just the innocence of the internet. I used to think again, wow, this is a tool that can allow you to communicate with people across the whole world, and now it's like every library is right at your foot, right at your doorstep. And it used to be the computer, and now it's just on your phone. That's great. Knowledge is all there, but at the same time, it rather than it promised sort of global connection, but I think it just caused global disconnection. It turned into less about exploring the World Wide Web. No one even says that phrase. To becoming algorithms that optimize your engagement, your consumption. And also things just become an echo chamber. Wherever you are, whatever you're looking up, it just gives you more of that. And that's how I feel sometimes people have lost the gift, the natural ability of critical thinking, because it just feeds you more of what you want. So if you're extremely enraged, it just gives you more rage. I suppose if you're extremely happy, that's probably a good loop. You'll just constantly get puppies and rainbows. So that's a good loop to get stuck in. But unfortunately, mostly it feeds into all the worst of what you're looking for. But yeah, the same device that connects you to the world, it also filters it. It isolates you, and then it's always trying to sell you things. And I'm sorry, whether you know it or not, or whatever you try to turn off or opt out of, it's always selling you something, even if it's not an obvious ad or product placement. Because even social media, it's selling you, it's like a death loop, a death scroll. You're just scrolling. And I think it just adds to anxiety, because you are just part of that identity that seems to think you aren't you. You aren't unique, and you don't have a purpose. And just by being human and being in this world and being you, that is enough. But it's not. Social media is so meant to feel like, in order for you to feel visible, you have to be out there. You have to be out there saying something, liking something, sharing it, sharing something, sharing it around, buying something that someone else had, and then showing them you bought it. And again, I know for a lot of you, you're not like that, but there's different degrees of that. Even if it's a little bit, and we all are, I am too, then there's the ones that are extreme, and they probably do tend to be the younger generation. And it's sad for them because their identity is so wrapped around all these platforms. TikTok and X and Instagram. If you're not out there, you don't exist. You don't feel seen. How sad is that? But yeah, consumption has shifted from utility to identity signaling. People buy status. They buy belonging. They buy a self-image. That used to be earned. That used to be earned by connection with others. How you presented yourself, having integrity and morals, showing that you were an upstanding citizen of the community by your leadership and your wisdom, and others around you who had the same ideals. And that's the other thing. I've said this before, we're all connected more than you know. The same government that just calls us consumers and loves to go to war because war is big business and big profit, and you're part of that. They're annoyed when they think about we all have more in common than we know. And I'm not saying to rise up and cause a revolution, but the revolution can just be putting your phone down. The revolution can just be unplugging and showing them that you don't need that to give your self-worth. You don't need that to be your identity. We all just want to enjoy life and carve out a piece for ourselves and our family and make those connections with each other and have stronger ties in the community. We don't need any of them. I'm sorry to say. We don't need the oligarchs and the government who don't listen to you, and especially the mega billionaires who only want to carve up more of the very small portion of wealth so that they can have more of it. We've also turned into, I call it's like the subscription culture. And I'm not saying that it's about ownership. Oh, I just want all things for myself, because it's like I'm going against what I just said. No, it's not about things, but not in a mass consumption way, not in a go to Costco or not have every package on your doorstep to get every little thing that you can buy. I'm talking about the little things. Owning a movie. To actually own it, it's yours. To own an album, it's actually yours. It's something physical. Now it's Spotify and Netflix and everything streaming. You don't own any of it. It's just the next thing. And the subscription model, much like renting forever, they've got you for life. Again, I don't see that as a good endpoint when you want to have something like financial freedom. And it sucks, because I've said this before too. I don't get off on money, but money is what can set you free in our modern construct, unfortunately. We did live in a world where you could just roam around and be free. That's long since gone, obviously. That makes no sense now. But there still was a way to work hard and get that dream and have a little piece of land of your own. And yes, maybe have a few albums you could play whenever you want, put them on the shelf when you don't want them. It was yours for life. Hey, if you took care of a record album back in the days before, I know all the young kids have no idea even what vinyl is, but if you took care of those, it could last forever. A CD could last I still have some CDs. If you didn't scratch them, point is it was yours. But now you don't own the music, you don't own your home, you don't own your car. It's a subscription model world. And so that they can get the most out of you from when you're born to when you die. You're always paying something. And that's all part of the consumption. There used to be physical fences, like I was talking about. You used to be able to just roam around in the world. Well, okay, sure. Back in the very old days, kings and queens and lords and landowners, but still, even that there were common areas of the world and land and giant grasslands people could still exist in and wander through and be human without having to plug in. If you unplug now, you're in trouble. You can't just walk around homeless. You're in trouble. That's now, an offense. It's vagrancy. I know that seems extreme, but we lost that long ago because, yes, they started to put up physical fences. The land was divided. Ownership, can't cross here, can't go there. That's mine, that's mine. And, laws restricting movement. Like I said, it was more limited freedom. You can go here, but you can't go there. But then it slowly evolved, and I don't know if we did this to ourselves, but it turned into invisible fences, economic barriers, digital ecosystems, and social silos. And again, I think COVID was probably part of that. They put the fear of God in us to make sure we stayed home and hid under our bed in fear. And I don't think a lot of people have gotten over that. We used to be told where we couldn't go, but now we're guided where to go. You know what I'm saying? Now you're guided to the right place to go and the right thing to do, and you have to do this to fit in. And that's another kind of prison, barrier. I think about the movie The Matrix, where, I'm sure everyone's seen that by now, so spoilers, I can't help you. Everyone's living in the Matrix, this artificial world that's really just your brain, but our physical body is hooked up to a machine where the AI robot machines are just using the human body for power. I think people forget that. That was the primary thing with the Matrix. Not only were we in a imaginary fantasy land, the AI was so clever because apparently the humans had blotted out the sun so they couldn't use solar power. They started to use the human body as an amazing source of constant power. And when if you were brought out of that, you woke up from that, you found out that you were just a battery and you woke up to the real world. I'm sorry to say I feel like we're in that now, but it doesn't have to be as extreme as a virtual existence. I think the Matrix is the prison is, like I say, the feeling that you have to consume. You have to identify yourself by all the products you have to buy and the certain look and the certain things you have to do for status in this world in order to feel like you exist. Because if you don't exist online, you're nobody. And again, I'm certainly sucked into this world too, but I'm aware of it and I'm trying to have a balance of it so I can feel like I have my own life. I also don't identify by it. It makes me sad for the young people that I only identify by their avatar or their persona, which is maybe some of it's them, but a lot of it's not them. It's just keeping up with the Joneses to the max. And it's terrible. It's soul crushing. But yeah, again, we're disconnected, and when you're disconnected, you're easy to control. You are, if a community is connected, it can push back. And again, I'm not talking about revolution or burning down the White House or Parliament, but you can push back collectively and say, no, we don't want any part of this. We're going to live our lives here like this. And you can't stop us because this is what we've decided to do in our community. I was going to talk about unions. There used to be unions, and yes, you're like, oh, you mean like corrupt union bosses. I think unfortunately everything, especially politicians, especially government, unfortunately does get corrupted, but at the heart of unions, it does make sense because it was a way for the common worker to be able to push back against a corporation that would easily just use capitalism to get everything it can to suck them dry, work them to death. And a union was a way to collectively give them one voice and strength, and the strength to say, if you keep treating me like this, I've got thousands of brothers and sisters who you're also treating that, and we don't want a bar of it. And so yes, again, I'm not saying it's the best solution, but they can say, we'll stop. And your machines will stop. And yes, they used to do that. I'm just saying we need a balance of this now, something like this, a way to say, we'll stop consuming and we'll stop your machines. And maybe we'll stop your little money-making war. We'll stop your war machine, because that's what it's all about. Like I say, they're not fighting tyranny. They just want money. They want the oil. They want the minerals. They want the goods. Iran is not the boogeyman. There are bad people everywhere. And this isn't about, again, I'm not getting into the war thing deeply again, but again, this is about the government. This is about Israel, the government, not the people, not a religion. Oh my God, you're anti-Semite. It's nothing to do with the Jewish people, nothing to do with government and Catholic people, no matter your religion. This is separate. This is a government. And this is Israel. This is Netanyahu saying, I've been mad at Iran. I have a personal beef with them, and this is my dream come true. Trump, let's go. And they both disgust me. Disgusting. And so that's where we are. War makes money. You're part of it. Yeah, so like I say, how did we get to consumer? It seems like it's been a slow road, but that's where we are. You're no longer a citizen with a voice. You're just a product. Like I said, you're a product from the minute you're born. You're branded, you've got your number, got your online presence, got your login. Young kids have it, innocently starts like that, and you're part of the machine. You can't get out. If you're not in the machine, well, you're in trouble. You're a weirdo. You're living off grid. They don't like those people. Believe me, I watch a lot of the YouTubers, and look, they're doing their own thing, but I tell you, they battle a lot of problems. It's not easy to just live life. It's not easy. It's not designed like that. It is designed to live in a city. It's designed to live in those walls. It's designed to live in an apartment that you rent. It's designed to rent all your streaming movies and your music, and it's designed to have all your products delivered to your door and your food and everything. It's designed also now to meet people in the virtual world and online by an algorithm. You don't go out. No one goes out to meet anyone. They don't have a community. They all meet on the phone. Everything comes to them via their phone. And yes, maybe they get together. I'll be honest, having kids is in the decline. You can look that up too. Maybe they overthink it and they go, I don't even think I want to copulate with you and have children. So that's going to go south too. And that's where we are. We went from visible fences to the invisible fences, trapped in our little silos. And we went from citizens of a collective, of a country, of a voice, of a town, of a community, to a consumer. So no wonder they call us that. And it is very upsetting. If your primary role in society is to consume, what happens when you stop? That's where I want to leave it. That's all I'm saying. What happens when you stop? Maybe we should put the tools down and walk away. Maybe we should turn the lever off, turn the lights off on the factory, and walk out. Except now it's putting down your phone, getting to know your neighbor, getting to even maybe know your family more, doing things with your family, doing things in your community, finding your voice there. Because my thing is, try to do the little things. If you can't fix the big things, can't stop the war, you can't stop the Trumps of the world or the Netanyahus, you can't stop the megalomaniacs, you can't stop the tyrants, the billionaires, the oligarchs. But you can start with you, yourself, your family, your neighbors, your community, and you can start there. And you can make that beautiful, and you can find that human connection again. And I think that's what we all need. So call us consumers if you will, but I think we are humans. We are free no matter what. You just have to find that freedom and find your voice. So I'll leave it there. Hope that wasn't too deep for you. Anyway, I'll make you happy because more awesome 70s Sundown coming up next on Radio Motion. And we'll be right back after a word from our awesome sponsors.